Audible High School football is on the air. Kimbo Camper, Joe Rose, and the Dean of High School Sports, the Godfather of High School Sports, Larry Bluestein. You need to know. You need to know anything about anybody who's played high school football from 1954 until now. He's got it inventoried in his head.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have to look at a piece of paper.
It is great having Larry with us.
It's awesome.
It's great being here, guys.
It's great to be here at Traspal Stadium. We're here for the Dade Broward All-Star Game. A good opportunity for some of these guys. And Larry, a lot of these guys still don't have scholarships, still don't have opportunities. This gives them another opportunity to showcase themselves. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Let me tell you, the Audible High School Football Friday is presented by Nike. To get the latest gear, check out Nike.com for more. And, Larry, this is, like I said, good opportunity for some of these kids out here that don't have an opportunity, whether it's D1, D2, Division III, wherever. Right. You know, some of these guys may find themselves a home tonight.
Yeah, this is exactly what this is all about, guys. I mean, last chance. They've had the season, 4 seasons. Yep. They've had local postseason All-Star game. Broward, Dade both do their own little thing, and then they play this. This is usually, and it's been for, even though this is the Dolphins' 8th year, 9th year doing it. It's gone on since back in the Roscoe Parish days, and we had an opportunity, and it became a Dade versus Broward, just a mentality, right? We're much better than you. I think things have kind of tempered because of the fact that they played together when they're youth football. Right. So now, but there's still a lot tonight. You have tremendous teams, tremendous coaches, 2 guys who I think have worked as hard as you can get to be here. You have Richard Dunbar from Fort Lauderdale, which has never been a football factory at all. And then all of a sudden, he's in a district the last 5 years with St. Thomas Aquinas so well. You know, I mean, you get hammered twice a year if you can get into the playoffs. They did. They had a chance this year to do something that no Fort Lauderdale team has done in 30 years, is play in the postseason and win a game.
Yep. You mentioned, we were just looking at the roster. You said, man, these rosters are both good.
Yeah.
You said these are a lot of really good players. I think the big decision for a lot of these guys, they're going to have a chance to play. It's just at what level of college football they want to play. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's 100%, Joe. I mean, because you have a couple of kids, as we said, Breann Fuller, who's playing at Jackson. He was committed to the University of Miami, maybe a heavy lean to Baylor now. So that's a Power 5 school right there in the mix. And then you have a quarterback, and Joe, you and I talked about him from Miami-Dade, Isaiah Velez. Here's a kid a year ago was at North Miami finishing a season where North Miami advanced 1 round, lost, and then in the offseason, Northwestern lost the quarterbacks. And then, obviously, Tutu Atwell went to Louisville. There was nobody really that could lead a team. And for the first part of the year, they were 5-5, and everybody's second-guessing. But then Isaiah Velez picked it up. He's 6'3". He's got good size. He really did well during the summer at LSU. And he's a kid tonight that really could wow. And you mentioned, Joe, the rosters are stacked. They have a lot of guys on both sides. So if you do well tonight, you're showing colleges that you could do it against some elite competition. Because usually in a game, they're picking on that kid. He runs a 5.2. But tonight, you got 4.5, 4.6 kids, maybe 4.7. I mean, if they were running 4.4, they wouldn't be here. So, but there's a lot of talent.
Larry, how many kids are there that kind of slip through the cracks? They're playing at Piper High School. They're playing at another high school. The St. Thomas's, the American Heritage, Northwestern, Carroll City. Those schools. Those kids are getting seen by plenty of scouts.
Right.
But you got some of these schools that are at the lower rung of it. They're trying to some of them just trying to field a team out there, and so these kids don't get the opportunity to be seen by all these guys. So that opportunity to go to a school or get a chance at a scholarship, sometimes it never comes to them. And this presents a platform for them, like you said, to show that, hey, I can play with this. When I came out of house, I didn't get recruited by anybody. No. And so this, for me, would have been an amazing thing for me to have an opportunity to play in a game like this and have somebody see me and play against somebody that's touted as a D1 guy, and now you can match up against them and get a look.
Well, here's a perfect thing. You guys both grew up in California, and around you there were tons of junior colleges, and probably as many Division III, Division II, like Whittier, Occidental, those schools like that. But think about when, at your time, maybe in the late 70s, middle 70s, growing up down
Let's
here.
Go early.
Yeah, okay, early 70s. Growing up down here, you didn't have that. You had Miami, Florida, Florida State, Bethune-Cookman, and FAMU, and that was it. Now, with other schools like Kaiser, St. Thomas University, which is going to start. I hear Nova Southeastern looking into it as well. But now you have more avenues, Bo. Florida Tech, you have Stetson. You have, so these kids tonight, may catch, because a lot of those Division II, Division III, NAIA schools can come out tonight. And they will be here, and they're going to look and say, "Hey, wow, we miss this kid, and we miss this kid, and we still have him for, we have money for him."
But the other thing too, Larry, is back. I don't know how many years ago when they dropped it down to 80 scholarships. Then the talent started to spread around, and some of these smaller schools, Alabama they'd have 150 kids on scholarship. Notre Dame would have 150. So and all those kids aren't, but so now those kids that those beyond 80 to wherever they were. Those kids now can go somewhere.
It's a trickle down.
And so it makes it levels the field somewhat in the lower divisions,
well,
if you will.
That's why you have North Dakota State, who could probably hang in there with, 60-70% of the Division I schools. That's why you have James Madison. That's why you have schools that just a little bit lower in the pecking order, because these kids, they have good programs. They have proven, programs where they play with everybody. And I think North Dakota State proved that by going up against Iowa State and going to some of those programs. So, you're right. There's a little trickle down, and kids tonight will benefit from it.
Hey, you know what, Blue?
What?
As we go on, it's amazing talking to people around the country. Just coming over. Football's still going on here, and we're still and I don't mean just the playoffs in the NFL.
No.
We still got all-star games going on for high school football. Yeah. It really is amazing. We're a couple weeks away from the second National Signing Day. Yeah. I wanted to ask you this, and a lot of people want to know real quickly. Is there still a lot of big-time talent left in South Florida for schools to get D1 players?
Yeah, there's big-time kids. And kids who maybe have signed. Remember what they do in some cases, and I'm not going to mention any names that had these ceremonies and everything like that, but what they do is they don't sign. They actually sign an application to get into the school, So it's not actually signing with them. So there's a little bit of loopholes. You're going to find this out by on February 6th that you're going to go, well, wait a minute, didn't this guy just sign there? You're going to see a lot of that, especially with college coaches changes, especially here in Miami, which has been the focal point nationally, guys, of recruiting. Now Manny Diaz is putting together his staff. Now they can go out and know that they have an offense and what type of offense they have, so they can sell the linemen, they can sell the receivers and the running backs, and obviously quarterbacks. You need that. And that was something that Willie Taggart had a tough time doing. He didn't have a coordinator as well.
Hey, we got Tyrone Johnson, the head coach of the Dade
Blue.
All-Star team. And
thank you, buddy.
Talking Blue. We're going to stick around because we're going to have you back a little bit. We've got more to talk to. Tyrone, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good.
Bo Camper, Joe Rose with you here.
How you doing?
How you doing, man? Hey, talk to us about this group you got out here. How long have you had with them? How long have you had to work? And how do you get ready in a short period of time to put a group of talented players together?
Yeah, well, this is my 8th year since the Dolphins took it over. I've been a part of this staff. Yep. I don't know how that worked, how that happened, but I started as a D-line.
You're a good-looking guy. That's how it happened.
Yeah. But I started the first 4 years, I did a D-line, and then the last 2 years I did defensive coordinator. Yeah. So now I'm the head. So with that being said, it definitely helped me learn and understand how to treat this all-star game in preparation. Yeah. So I learned some things that we didn't do, what we should have done, and I improved what I thought I improved on the things we should cut out or add in.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you. This is last opportunity for a lot of guys to get. Do you see that when they're going through their workouts and practices, they understand the importance of this game to shine, get one more chance to really play well?
Yeah. For the most part, I would say 80 to 90% of them do. You're going to have your 10% that might not really understand. Right. And that's like what I'm going to do today. I'm going to bring them down after they finish warming up and make sure they understand this could be some of y'all last high school football games. Right. Majority of your last high school football game, and some of y'all might not even play after this. Yeah. So that's big. You might not see it now, but it's big. So really don't take it for granted. Go out there and play like you normally play when you at your other schools.
Along with that too, it is an all-star game, and these guys are getting a chance to play with guys that they've played against during their high school career. So there's got to be a little fun to it. You got to can't go and grind these guys. It's an opportunity, it's an experience, and it's something to really embrace and be with guys that you've been around with. Some of these guys played youth football with each other, went to different high schools, and here they are again.
Yeah, and what I like about that, that's one of the favorite parts about these All-Star games. When your first day, you see how they mix in with their opponents, that they were friends with at the parks, but may not have been on the same team in high school, and they actually have a ball with that. Yeah. And it's a short time. You're talking 5 to 6 practices. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. To try to build something real quick and get it done. So like I told them, it's not about how talented you are. It's about how quick you learn what the offensive coordinator defense want to learn. That's a team that's normally successful because they got the Broward side has all-stars too. Yeah. What team can grasp that scheme the quickest and perform it together? That's what normally comes on top.
I'm just thinking of all the players, and this, that 305s that are playing in the NFL, 305s playing on Saturday. It's got to be special for all these guys, though. Football is so good in Dade County. You've seen it up close. And just how good it is, even for this all-star game. I know Larry Bluestein was talking about, man, a lot of good football players playing in this thing tonight. Yeah. What do you see in Dade County that keeps the level at such a high? I talked to Frank Gore about this yesterday. He was going through therapy. How proud he is of the 305 football.
I tell you what, as a coach, it's like amazing to see, because you're not going to get that on one team. Yeah. You know what I mean? To see that much talent, that much leadership, and I like the fact that they gel together. You can get them because you got egos, so and then you don't get that here, and of course it depends on the coaches to help that diffuse those. Right. But I've been a part of all these games, and we've never had a problem with those, and the talent level goes up and down, but it's still here. When I say down, just down from another year, not down. You know what I mean?
Hey, you coached at Miami Hialeah of Miami Lakes for 3 years.
Yes.
FAMU grad, played for the 49ers for a couple years, played some arena football. So you've got you're well versed in
play a lot of football.
In a lot of football. Yeah. That's the point I was getting at.
I've been around.
You got a lot of football in your resume.
Yes, I do. I mean, I've done 15 years. This last year is my 15-year coaching. Yes. 3 years as a head, 2 years as a DC, and the other one's assistant coach. I got 3 titles under my belt as an assistant coach, state championship, 1 national with Northwestern. So I think I've done a good job so far.
So not bad at all. And all that time, you've had a chance to watch, see some guys that are just average players that are going to play the last high school football game. Guys move on. Guys go to colleges. Some guys into the pros. And so you as a coach, you get a lot out of it watching the success that guys have after some of the guys that maybe didn't go on to play college football or go to the NFL find themselves doing good work in the community, having a nice job, being productive citizens, all because of some of the tutelage that you're able to give to them as they grow on.
Well, I like to think that, and I appreciate that. But again, for me in this game, I'm just happy to see these kids get that opportunity and get selected to play in a game like this, so they can go out. Maybe they didn't go out the way they wanted to in their last high school football game. We got some state championships from Northwestern on this team, but the rest of them might not have been a state championship. Chances are they haven't.
So if they win the playoffs, they lost their last game.
Exactly, that's my point. So they got an opportunity as a team. That's the way to get that win and finish as a winner your last high school football game. Those are the goals that you put together for a game like this, and it's awesome. Even if you don't win, it's still an awesome opportunity. It's awesome to be a part of it, and they get that. And I say that they have fun. It's not like a rival. It's just have fun. It's a rival, but it's not a. You know what I mean?
Coach, we really. Go ahead, Coach.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say.
Appreciate you spending time. We got Richard Dunbar coming up next.
Coach, thank you, man.
Take
care of yourself.
Best of luck. Best of luck with your career, and the best luck working with these kids, man.
Sir. Thank you very much.
Switching over to the 954. Richard Dunbar, Broward All-Star head coach. Fort Lauderdale High School, 9 years as head coach. How you doing, Coach?
Great deal.
How's this experience been for you?
It's been great.
Yeah.
The guys are working hard. It's always good to be in front of, true natural talent. Yeah. This is Broward County's best, and looking forward to seeing what we have, what they have to offer.
How would you do if you had this they have this team lined up for the Flying L's up there.
You like that, wouldn't you? We have about half a season with that.
Yeah. Listen, definitely would love to have, you know, some of this talent out there, man. But, you know, I have to give credit to my guys. They work hard for us. But you just can't beat, you know, size and speed and just natural athletic ability, you know. So when you got all of that built in one, you know, you looking for, you expecting for something special to happen.
How serious have you guys taken these practices? For a lot of guys, this might be it. Guys moving on.
Yes, sir. Very serious. As I tell those who have offers or know where they're going or have some idea where they're going, you have to take this just as serious as the next man who don't have the offers or don't have an idea, because he need this game. And it's one last shot, one last opportunity, and here it is. What better stage to do it on? I mean, when you're talking about playing with the best of your county against the best of Dade County, we're talking about South Florida football at its finest. So we've taken these practices very, very serious.
Hey, working with these guys, you don't. Is it about just getting your guys ready with your offense and your defense? Because you don't know what's coming down from the Miami team. You know, normally you get to see some tapes, you get a feel for your playing, your game plan, but here you just kind of, I guess, just get your guys ready to play and run your stuff, and whatever they do, just react. I guess that's really the only thing you could do.
That is, but what I like to do in a situation like this is try to maximize our talent. You know, a number of these guys come from various programs. You know, so we want to utilize them in the systems that they played in and that they're familiar with. I'm not the coach to say, no, this is my stuff and this is what you got to do. Hey, what are you comfortable with? Because it's you that's playing. It's your opportunity. And then we just try to work together as a team to maximize.
Let them showcase themselves and what they do best.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They talk, what's it feel like leading up to today, 305 and 954? We always talk about any time a Dade plays a Broward team, what's it like?
Here it is, another opportunity to show who's best, bragging rights, you know, county versus county, you know, for 365 days, you know. And we've, you know, reiterated to the guys, you know, throughout, hey, don't just be content with just another opportunity of being on the field. But, you know, I guess we haven't won this rivalry or this game. Broward County hasn't won in so many years or X amount of years. So I'm like, are you going to be that team, you know, to sever those ties and start something new, you know, start a new trend?
That's right.
You know, here's the opportunity to do so. So I think it's going to be a very competitive game. You know, I think the guys are ready.
You know, it's about coming out and playing a game, showcasing yourself for you know, the colleges are out here looking at it. But it's also about coming out, and we talked with other coaches about having a little fun. How's it been watching these guys that played against each other become over the course of a week or so, become friends, become guys that they're going to kind of hang with for the rest of their life, and they'll have contact with, and you see those relations get built pretty quickly in a situation like this.
Oh, you do, but what I found or what I've learned, and you kind of have an idea, but you don't really know the extent of it. But a number of these guys played Little League football together.
Wow.
You know? Or some of them they started high school together and went separate ways or whatever. So to see them reconnect and just talk about old times, and I remember when you did this, and I remember when you did that, you can see the brotherhood, you can see the kid in them again. You see that light up, that glow, you know? And I got to give these guys credit. They're not selfish. They are not selfish at all with the reps, with the ball. They're blocking for each other. They're working hard for one another. So you could tell that there was some history, you know, some good history and good chemistry, you know, back in the days, you know, during their younger days. So it's good to be around that.
Is it important to get everybody equal time tonight? Is that something that's always in the back of your mind, or trying to play the best guys? If there's a few guys better to try to win this, how do you treat that tonight, putting your game plan together?
You want to win, obviously, and most first and foremost, you got to put guys out there who know what they're doing for safety reasons. You know, for their safety or someone else's safety. That's first and foremost. Everyone is going to get an opportunity, you know, to touch the field. There's no, hey, no, he's better than you. He's going to play or take all the reps. No, everyone. This is the county's best. So if this is the county's best, everyone has to hit the field. certain situations, whether if it's during the game or, down in distance, whatever, you got to get the right personnel on the field to maximize that opportunity.
So, Coach, it's just the three of us here talking right now.
Yes, sir.
There's 4 minutes left in this game.
Yes, sir.
You're down by a point. You putting your best horses out on the field?
Best 11 on the field. Best 11. Best 11.
You knew that. Hey, come on back in here. Let's go ahead. I want to win this thing, man. No question.
Best 11.
No question. A little aggressive, too, right?
Absolutely.
This ain't about punting if you get a chance to get first downs and
we're
keep
going.
rolling.
We're going to play
We're
football.
just checking Broward County.
You have a punter on your team, right?
Oh, we do have a punter. We have a kicker, and we will use him.
All right. Well, Coach, wish you the best of luck, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on being the head coach for this team. And,
yes, sir.
And wish you the best of luck.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
With your program before
really appreciate it.
Keep it rolling, my man.
Yes, sir.
All right,
appreciate you guys.
All right. Larry Blue. Now the dean's coming back.
I'm back.
Hey, Blue, we were talking about it, the opportunity for these kids out here and opportunities for kids that we talked about earlier that, maybe don't have a place to go.
Right.
Maybe they're just looking for someone, and there'll be some people out here for them to. But it's a huge night for those guys.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is like we said. I mean, most of these kids have been working since Pee Wee League to get to this level, to get to college, to get it paid for, to have an opportunity, where they could get an education and play this game and this sport that they love. You guys know the feeling as well as anybody. I mean, once you've reached that senior year in high school, I mean, it can't end here. I mean, there's just too much because. Once you go to college and you play football, you keep that same structure and you give yourself an opportunity to stay busy, but get an education to fall back on, and that's important.
Blue, the dream, man. I was just talking to some of the kids here a couple hours ago. I said, listen, they were talking about they didn't have offers.
Yep.
And I said, listen, and they said, it's smaller schools right now, and they're holding out waiting. I understand. But I said, hey, man, there's been a lot of roads to keep this thing going, to keep the dream alive. I said one of them was this guy right here who became a first-round pick for the Miami Dolphins. There's a lot of different roads to get there. And if you have to start in one you may not be excited about, stick with it.
Yeah, and
it's a lesson you do to –
definitely. I mean, like in his case, people like Pete Carroll are kicking themselves all the time. He had a chance to get him at Pacific when he was there.
Look, I tell parents a lot. Parents will ask me, I tell them, look, if you want to get your kids somewhere we can play.
Yeah, yes.
Find a level where he can play.
Got to keep playing, right?
Because you're not – I had a friend that, sent their son, walked him onto a big school. I said, that's great, but the kid's never going to play.
No.
Never going to play. Why don't you send him to a school where he can play? He'll make friends with guys on the team. He'll play. They'll play every Saturday. And you know what? I played at Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota. It was a 1,200 student school. We had maybe 300 people in the stands. You know what? I played in the Super Bowl. I played in the Super Bowl with 100,000 fans.
Right.
Game was no less important when I was playing in front of 300 than it was playing in front of 100,000.
Yeah.
At that given time, when you line up on that field, didn't matter where, who, what, when, it was important for you. And so I tell them, I said, look, get them somewhere where they can play. And look, I went 4 years. I went to 3 different schools. Got out in 4 years and went to the NFL. If that's not a serpentine path, it isn't out there if it's not.
And how life intertwines, because Joe, you're familiar with another story in Chuck Muncie, which was the same type of thing. Kick to the corner, Allentown, Pennsylvania, went to Worthington, Minnesota, ends up at Cal, and like Bo, has a tremendous career. So it's perseverance, and you can never give up, because a door's going to always open. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys that, but doors are always going to open. And that's important, and that's what tonight is about. Because if these kids were in North Dakota, it'd be cold, first of all. But I mean, if this game was in North Dakota tonight, you would have at least Minnesota and all these other teams coming here, but yet you don't have any Division I schools looking at these kids.
They'd be playing the Fargo dorm.
Yeah, they would.
So, Larry, I want you to you know these guys like the back of your hand. Well, why don't you tell us, anyone's coming out here, the players that they may want to look at from a standpoint of guys that are more well-known. And some guys out here, you think, hey, this guy's a guy that someone should probably give him a shot.
Well, first of all, you have Breann Fuller, who last year was at Doral Academy. University of Miami commitment early on, has backed off. He's going to be out here. Baylor is one of his schools. I like him a lot. He's a kid. He's a wide receiver. He goes up for the ball. He's extremely quick. One of the guys we were just talking about before, Bo, and Joe and I were talking about Isaiah Velez, a quarterback out of Northwestern. You talk about a kid that's taking a gamble. He left North Miami High School after leading them to a 9-2 season. He had 18 touchdowns and 1 pick. Goes to a Northwestern program that, oh, by the way, just won a state title. He does really well. He still has nothing. He has smaller schools. Yes. He doesn't have a lot of the bigger schools. A lot of the other kids that you can look at this evening. Here's another kid that I like, and they all come from Jackson for some reason. But Philman Roundtree started at Miami Springs. He's a linebacker. I'll tell you what, he's one of those guys that's always around the ball. It's amazing. And some of the Broward County kids, obviously Broward County's stacked. Cecil Powell. This is a guy tonight. He's from Piper. He's a DB. Watch him. A lot of D1 schools are on him as well. A lot of people have been looking at him. I think he's one of the real underrated kids. Yeah. And he's got an opportunity to play Division I football. A couple of the other kids, you have probably, and I know Coach Dunbar probably told you, but from a kicking standpoint, you're not going to find any better in the nation. You got the best punter here in Dayton Montiel, averages 46 yards a punt. I mean, this kid, Reggie Roby type stuff. Watch him when he starts warming up. And then you have a Tyler Waxman, who's easily one of the best kickers in South Florida. You have from Cardinal Gibbons, Travis Robinson throughout the last 8 games of the season. He was arguably the best linebacker in South Florida. Like Donnell Bennett's son last year, had the same finish to the season, but never got any real interest. He's a guy that could really benefit this evening. You have Marcus Allen, who's you have 3 linemen to have an opportunity, especially down here. How can linemen, go unnoticed, especially down in this area? And 2 kids that I want to, and I know you talked about the twins, the Dorsey's twins from Fort Lauderdale that Coach Dunbar has. Both of them committed to attend the Air Force Academy. Nice. They stole those guys. Those kids are Power 5 kids, and they'll be out here as well this evening.
You and I, we talk about this. We don't always agree on it. Of course, we don't agree on Bo and I don't agree on everything. Bo kind of asked you this before. They recruit heavily. Everybody's recruiting here. Sure. We just saw it in the early signing. Everybody came down here from around the country. Everybody's got recruiting budget. You think they really still miss guys? So many people recruit down here. Even if you go to a school that, I don't want to get on schools that are struggling a little bit.
I'll tell you why they do, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you know my point.
I'll tell you,
They don't miss any kids.
Yeah, but I'll tell you why they do. Is because, remember, if you come from an area, Cincinnati, Louisville, they want you to kind of get your own kids to kind of put seats, people in the seats. So coming down here and getting 12, 14 kids, you don't do that anymore. Louisville, when Clint Hurt and all those guys were taking kids from here, they had, 17 kids from South. That doesn't happen anymore. That's why you have a backup, because we can't facilitate all the Florida State, FAU, FIU, because Butch, Lane Kiffin, they have to kind of diversify their recruiting. They just can't have it from down here. They have to kind of spread it around the state so they get a little bit of regional and national exposure. But that's why, Joe, they're not taking as many kids from this area, like they used to. Not one school, Cincinnati's not coming in here and signing 11 kids.
It's funny. I was a couple years ago. I would go for National Signing Day, go do it and interview, do some stories on it for the news. And I forget, I was either at Booker T or somewhere else, Northwestern, one of those 2 schools, and they had the big names. They always have the big names there, but they also had like 6 or 7 kids. They were all going to some junior college in Idaho. And I'm thinking to myself, man, that team's going to kick some ass.
Yeah, they will.
I don't know where that team is. I don't know who they are, but they're going to kick some ass up there.
Thank goodness for poor SAT scores.
Right.
Well, because that's my biggest hindrance was were my transcripts. I could run fast, but I couldn't run faster than my transcripts.
That's true too with a lot of these kids.
Yeah, it is funny, though, that we do talk about, can you miss in certain schools because they are small, they're getting beaten up, they don't win a lot of games. You guys might not when they're talking about everybody goes to the big schools. You got limited time down here. And by the way, your number 1 team in South Florida when it finished this year was? Best team
Central,
in South Florida.
Miami Central. Because they had this significant win. They beat St. Thomas to a pulp. And I know they don't want to hear that, obviously. Tomorrow, by Monday morning, somebody will be on the phone with Joe.
Did they beat them, Larry?
They beat them pretty good.
They beat them up. No, they beat them up in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they beat them up in the fourth, and it was a good game. But that, to me, is a significant win. And they went toe-to-toe for, 5 overtimes with St. John's up in Washington, D.C., and they finished 8th in the nation. So Central wins it.
Man. Northwestern beats them in
but
the biggest
St. Thomas,
game, the one that counts.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey,
Yeah,
Larry, how are you with those games? Those national games, pitting the, at the beginning of the year, the high school year, pitting the top teams traveling around and playing those games. How are you with those games?
I would much rather see our guys play each other down here, like we did last year. How many people loved that Central St. Thomas game? They loved it. I mean, it was perfect. Because for years, St. Thomas would always get criticized by, oh, yeah, sure, you're playing Northwestern 2 years after everybody left. But last year was a real tremendous matchup. I think they should open the season. I'm not telling the Dolphins what to do, but a triple header at the stadium, maybe on a Saturday, with highlighting your maybe a St. Thomas Columbus matchup, or a Cardinal Gibbon, something like that, where you showcase your own. Let's not worry about what Bishop Gorman or Allen, Texas are doing. We have the best players in the NFL right now. We had 57 kids from Dade and Broward County to begin the 2018 season on NFL rosters. Some states don't even come close to that. California's the only one in Texas, but their metropolitan areas are nowhere like this, and that's why tonight, even though this is a quote-unquote local all-star game, it's the best in the country from talent anywhere. You couldn't have a game like this in January anywhere in the country but here. But that illustrates it. But that's the reason.
No doubt. Hey, we got some other stuff we got to get to here before we wrap this thing up. We got to kind of slide over to the Dolphins a little bit, and everyone's kind of waiting.
Blue's got strong opinions.
Oh,
Don't you worry about that.
Didn't I get in trouble for that?
But everyone's waiting to see. And all the names have been flying around: Eric Bieniemy, Chris Richard, Dennis Allen, Brian Flores, Rizzi, Loggins, the offensive coordinator, gets an interview today, and I got to think that this thing Monday, Tuesday. Kind of gets put to bed. These teams got to start getting ready for the Senior Bowl.
No doubt.
They got to get staffed up.
That's right.
They got to be ready to go on, start getting the business of getting forward to 2019 in that football season going. And you can't do it until you get one of these guys signed. So my guess is that Monday is probably the day, maybe Tuesday, that they come to a head. Anybody, Joe, jump out at you that thinks – obviously the name floating around now is Brian Flores, the D.C., from I guess he was, I don't know if he's the DC or the unofficial DC up in New England, but he seems to be the name there. The smoke is billowing around his name down here in South Florida.
Bo, I looked at this list of names that they've had and interviewed, and I mean I say that's part of the issue right now is to get the right coach and put in a good system for what you want to be and how you want to run your offense and defense, and then of course the other part's got to be done partially by the head coach, but mostly by that front office, and upgrade this roster and figure out what you're going to do with your injured veteran players, with veteran players that didn't live up to their salaries, and develop your rookie classes over the last couple of years.
Well, that's already begun with Chris Greer. Giving him that job.
Great hire, great opportunity for the Dolphins.
Good guy, knows what he's doing. I think he's look. If you've read the newspaper, he's well respected around the National Football. And Joe, we have you and I have a chance to talk. I like the way he goes about his business. He's not a boastful guy. He just does his work the way he's supposed to do it. And
he knows the franchise, scouting every part of it.
He knows it from top to bottom. I totally agree.
And these will be his decisions. So let's get it started, and then you revamp the organization.
We mentioned quarterback.
That's obviously you got to make a decision real quick.
Might be up there at the top.
Well, look, we've talked about this, Joe. We talked about it on the podcast this last week. To me, it's the number 2 priority to me is that head coach. Number 1 priority is get a quarterback here that's going to be a franchise quarterback.
Definitely.
It's because I don't think there's anybody that's watched this league over the last handful of years that doesn't believe that if you don't have a top 10 quarterback, you got no shot.
Yeah, no doubt.
You may pop up. Someone may pop up, win 10 games, get in the playoffs, but the duration's not going to be there. It's not going to sustain itself until you get that guy. And you look at the guys that were out there. You look at the 8 jobs. Look at the 8 jobs that were available. And what was the one constant?
Yeah.
None of them had good quarterbacks.
And you know
Except
what?
Green Bay.
Yeah, except for Green Bay. But then you take a look at the teams
that
are
that horse for a while, by the way.
For a long while.
For a long time.
Take a look at the teams that are still going. I mean, every one of them have leadership at that position, excellence at that position, and you're not going to get to that. You're not going to get to the Elite Eight without somebody. Baker Mayfield was one of those guys that he's going to be he's going to lead them. I mean, no doubt. He's already shown what he could do. And I mean, in as much as everybody criticized Jared Goff, he's done pretty well, for the last couple of years. These young quarterbacks make the difference. If you have a quarterback, I know everybody's looking at Haskins and all, I mean, and he may climb the ladder because of the fact that there's no Herbert. Next year is going to be crazy because you'll have Herbert, you have Tua, you'll have a lot of other guys. And I'm not one of those guys that tanking or whatever they want. You just play the progression now.
We're not part of the tanking family here. I'm with you.
No, the progression is going to take care of itself. And certainly, you take a look at where the Dolphins pick this year, who's going to be available. But scouting is going to be essential. And if they could do the scouting job, go to the Senior Bowl, do some really good evaluation with some really good people. But they have to have everybody in place, like you said, at least by next week.
Yeah. Got to be there. Hey, the kid from his name escapes me. Trey, or the kid from Oklahoma,
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray. Didn't do himself any favors in the in that bowl game.
No,
I mean, from a standpoint of, because I was thinking, hey, this guy comes out, he may be, just from my eyeballs watching that game. I don't know.
Opening day center fielder for the Oakland A's 2022, right there. Leading off and playing center field, Kyler Murray.
You're not buying the football, but Kyler Murray
he's 5'9".
Yeah,
little guy.
Save your body and you know what? Make yourself some good money and irritate Joe's San Francisco team for a while.
You're a bad man. You're a bad man, Larry. I was really liking you for a while there. It is, though, Bo, figuring out, even if you got a Band-Aid for a year till you get to what you want. But it will be interesting to see what happens. Whoever gets his head coaching job, what kind of system they'll run, and what they'll do with this roster and the coaches, Bo. There's 24 coaches sitting there trying to figure it out.
It's unfortunate that here we are again. Playoffs are going. And we're saying, well, let's get those playoffs over so we can get to the draft and the combine and the important things, right?
Yeah.
Well,
not enjoying a game tomorrow, right?
Not enjoying a game tomorrow. Not enjoying having a bye week maybe and having a home field advantage for a playoff game.
None of that.
The greatest thing in the world, in the football world.
4 good candidates could be coming out of tomorrow, losing tomorrow. I mean, I know that you take a look at L.A., they have somebody that everybody wants. Dallas has Eric Richard, who everybody wants. So, you know what? I think people are overlooking Eric Bieniemy. Yeah. I mean, they're saying, it's look at how much. But he developed Hunt last year. He worked extremely well with him.
You know what, though, Larry? His name's not getting mentioned. Outside of the interviews,
but it's not. Yeah, you don't.
Crazy.
You don't feel it catching any traction with.
A lot of experience behind him. He worked with some really good people.
And you know what I like about this guy? He's been a coach for a long time. Right. It's not a 3 or 4 year deal for him. He's run the football.
Right. It's like Flores, 14 years with the.
Exactly. In those guys. So, but again, when you got first time head coaches, to me it's put those dice in and roll them on the table.
I agree.
Anyone could be a bust. Anyone could turn out to be a
no doubt. That's how it happens.
Everybody's in love with these young coaches right now.
Except for Tampa
don't
Bay.
Have a lot of experience, except for a couple guys.
Bruce Arians is a great mind, though. I mean, he's a great mind.
Denver went with veteran defensive coordinator that's been around for a while, but I don't know about these young guys, Bo.
No,
There's not a lot on the resume.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny because you heard it with Adam Gase. You've heard it with every coach. Unfortunately, we've been in a situation we've had a number of first-time coaches come through the doors at the Dolphins training facility there, and to a man, each one of them at one point has said to me, "Wow, I didn't realize there was this many obligations that come with being."
Yeah.
Now they got all the media, the things they've got to do. I didn't realize someone was talking to Coach Gase when he says, he says I pick where people sit on the airplane. He said that's part of my job is picking. I go that. Well, can't give that to somebody else.
Yeah.
But the point being is, you come in there and you've been a DC, you've been an offensive coordinator, you've been an offensive line coach, a quarterback coach, whatever you've done.
Right.
You haven't done the whole package, and all of a sudden these guys walk in and go, whoa. Once they get done with that initial press conference, where everyone's all happy. Once they walk up in that office, it's like, holy do now?
Every detail is on you.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like I'm going to go home and everything will be taken care of.
Yeah.
You have to take care of it. And that's
if you're the wife of one of those guys, you say, I'll see you in 6 or 8 months.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot easier to be a quarterback coach because they seem to be popular and just go, hey, guys, don't worry about it. I'll talk to the head coach. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Then you're the head coach now. Everybody's not happy with
the bad
you,
guy.
and you got to deal and put the fires out all the time.
You're the bad cop. So, and it happens. And that, you know what? You look at people who have been tremendous coordinators, Cam Cameron type, Randy Shannon, people who have just done extremely well as coordinators, but when they get into that head coaching role, it just becomes more than they really probably bargained for.
Right.
I mean,
I'll give you this, too. To me, the head coaching job in the NFL now is vastly different than it was back when it was Tom Landry and Don Shula and Chuck Nolan, those guys. Free agency has affected it. There's a lot of things that affected it, but now you can't be a Paul Brown. You can't be a Vince Lombardi and that guy that just grinds your team down. Discipline.
Right.
Because as soon as you do it, some of these guys, you get yelled at, and once free agency rolls around, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this guy in my ear. I'm tired of this and that, and which to me makes it was much easier to coach back then than it is now because the players today have a different mentality. They're a little bit more, hey, I'm my own man. Line me up. You want me to line up and run to that brick wall? Okay, just tell me how many times you want me to do it.
Right.
Do it. It's not that way anymore.
It's funny because it reminds me of when you and I talked to Coach Phil Kruger that night on the radio show, and he was talking about the very same thing back in the day with San Francisco or when he had Louis Giamona in Philadelphia, and he was talking about how things have changed so much, and he's noticed it because when he was with John McKay at Tampa Bay or when he was at USC, and you could see how things changed, and the old school is not really the school that people go by anymore, even though we wish they would.
Everybody wants, I love it, and there's a fine line, Bo, and I believe this after watching all our coaches, including Adam Gase. You want the players, you want to be able to relate to them, you want to communicate, you want to be known as a coach, the players respect you. Yeah. But at the same time, sometimes you got to give tough love.
Yeah.
And, they got to know who's in charge. I got to make tough decisions. It's not easy, Bo.
No.
It's not. And the money now is the game changer.
Everything. Is everything.
Well, free agency is
that
is what changes everything because it gives you an out. It gives you that out. And look, even at this point, if you really want out bad enough, you just become a disgruntled player. You just become a guy that's a pain in the ass, a guy that is a trouble.
I'm not mentioning any names, Antonio Brown, but I mean,
But see, to me, that's one of the things I never thought I'd see the Pittsburgh Steelers be a team that's dealing with the things that they're dealing at.
Yeah, I agree.
With right now, that has been the bedrock
no
franchise
doubt
of the National Football League for decades.
The Rooney's epitomized that. I mean,
they're falling into that dysfunctional,
crazy.
What's this guy?
Speaking of Dade County football, Antonio Brown, and that's a weird one to be that good. We don't usually see, Bo, you and I talked a few days ago about this. A guy that's that good, that's getting paid max money, that gets targeted a lot, so he catches a lot of balls. And he doesn't show up for practice for a couple of days before this huge game that could get you into the playoffs. Now, it didn't work out for him because Baltimore held on and beat the Browns in their last game,
but still.
Just a bad look.
Yeah, very bad look.
How mad are you?
They were remember the Dolphins were like that for so many years. They set standards. There was never going to be dissension on that program because you're winning, and there's a lot of people that weren't egotistical outside.
Well, how about this one though? And I still have a hard time swallowing this. I understand a little bit because of the people that are around him, but a guy like Brent Grimes who's complaining because the coach wants him to play. Again, used to be that cornerback.
Oh, yeah.
I want to play against the best. Put me on the best guy.
Yep.
That's why you're not paying me enough to put me on the best guy now.
And somebody else got to go on the best guy.
What message does that send?
Yeah, not a good one.
It's horrible.
Not a good one.
Anyway, let's move on.
That
past
one does bother you.
Because that's aggravating.
Don't mention anybody's wife, man. This is about the player.
Really?
I tell you. Oh boy.
Not from us, but hey, anyway.
That was Kim Bocamper, by the way.
It was Kim Bocamper right here. You know, I'm on Brighton Plantation if you want to know where I'm at, or I'll be at the Dolphins training facility whenever you want to talk. I'll be there. Don't worry about it. Big game here tonight. Good opportunity for these guys, and it is great to be out here. I want to thank Nike for bringing us the Audible High School Football Friday. We're live from Traspal in South Florida, and excited to have this. I have been a part of this high school football season with Nike, and I got to say congratulations to the Dolphins for being a big part of this game, putting it together, supporting it, and letting us know whatever we do. Bullshit, make stuff up.
Whatever we have to do, whatever we have to do.
Whatever we got to do.
It is great, though, to be involved in high school football.
But it is. And look, the Dolphins have
it's awesome.
up in a huge way. And
always. Best community-oriented organization in football.
I agree with you. Larry, appreciate you stopping
Anytime,
by.
Bo.
Joe, always a pleasure.
Happy New Year, guys.
Thank you.
I
want to thank all the guys behind the camera back there that make this work and help us out and do that. And thank you guys that have watched it. And hey, enjoy the game. If you're coming out, enjoy the game. Should be a lot of fun. And we'll catch you on the next High School Football Friday next year.
Let's take a little time off.
We'll see you then.